We do have time for a couple of questions from the audience. If anybody's got one, we've got a microphone running around. Okay. There's one. Yeah. Oh. Oh, the question was, why does TRE not run on a Sunday? George, can we run the... Here comes a mic.
Okay, currently TRE has their maintenance. The maintenance away is, everything is on Sunday, so we don't, well, at least we try to make everything on a Sunday so we don't delay any traffic, any of our trains. So we don't operate on Sunday, and we do maintenance of the track.
Okay.
Well, you use TRE to go to work? Oh, Fort Worth, okay. Okay. Yeah, there's been some talk. I can't guarantee that, when it's going to happen, but there is talk about going to Sunday service as well.
Yeah.
We'll give you a route.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's...
Tim, you got something? Yeah. Oh, there's one. Okay.
Thank you. This is a question for Mr. McKay, and that is, having traveled pretty much the U.S. and also much of Europe, as far as I know, I have never seen a transit system where they didn't have some kind of a formal pay arrangement before you got on the vehicle or and so I just wonder what you figure the loss of revenue is where people are riding the dark for free. Thank you.
Can you move that? Yeah.
Is that better? Okay. Great question, and we revisit this probably every, 2 or 3 years, or at least every 5 years. One of the things that we look at is we look at what our fare evasion rate is. And right now, on a quarterly basis, our fare evasion rate is based upon the number of tickets that we write when we check folks, is probably 2% or less. And based upon that, when you look at how much money do you want to spend either in enforcement or with a closed system, then the question is it actually worth spending that money, or should we spend that money to do other things in the system? We are probably going to get closer to having some of our stations more closed from the standpoint of enforcement. One of those is probably going to be the West End Station in downtown Dallas, and a couple others. So it's not that we ignore it, but we look at how do we spend our dollars, and is that something that we want to, spend $120 million to take 2% of fare evasion rate down to something less. Even if you have a closed system, there are people that will beat the system. And the other thing that we're doing is we're going more electronic. We are going to have a tap card, and we're going to have electronic cards, which will make it easier for the fare enforcement officers to go through the trains. We have just initiated a new security objective, and here in March we'll have at least one officer on every train. And part of what they're going to be doing is not just keeping the peace, but they'll be going through the trains and checking tickets and things like that. So I think we're working in the right direction. We're just not convinced yet that we need to spend those capital dollars in order to push that fare evasion rate down any further. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thanks. That's, so let that be a lesson to all of us. if we're talking about making a bad decision on DART. Don't do that. We've got time for one last question.
Yeah, right here. This is for both Cotton Belt and Tex Rail. What are the implications for freight, rail freight on that line? And what's the future of rail freight on that line, and what are the implications for the transit passenger product?
Is this on? Yes. As far as the freight goes, we work very closely with the Fort Worth and Western, which is the short line railroad that operates the Cotton Belt, and they will continue to provide freight service, and we hope that they do even more freight service. So it's absolutely part of the plan. They're part of the positive train control effort. We'll be equipping 4 of their locomotives with the positive train control equipment. So everything should work very well. We are now the dispatchers of that line, and I think everything's going to be very seamless.
Similarly, on the eastern side, we have 3 railroads that operate fairly limited schedules, and as we looked at single track, double track, passing sidings, all of that, that capacity was put into design of the system, and so we do anticipate that there will be a similar activity as is seen today. There is a section in North Dallas that is freight abandoned, and it's not likely that freight will come back there. If it were, then it would have to go through the STB, and it would go through the process again, and it's not likely that that would be very well received. So we expect, much like on Fort Worth side, we expect to say the same activity that we're seeing today. It's just now we're going to put passengers out there amongst the freight.
Paul mentioned positive train control, which will be the subject of our next panel. Gentlemen, I want to thank all of you. There's a lot of exciting things going on, both from a policy perspective and from a project perspective. The resilience of those systems in times of emergency. We heard a little bit about that earlier today. We heard about it from our friends at Metro. Of course, there's exciting things happening here. A pitch maybe to have the conference in Carrollton. Thank you guys very much. Great conversation, great questions from the audience. Thank you all so much.